tomorrow's news today.
We do not take an oath to an individual. We take an oath to the Constitution.
Washington Post team Woodward and Costa's allegations regarding General Milley reveal the violation of several uniform codes of military law. A court-martial would appear to be imminent. In retrospect, treason and betrayal were hovering around every corner of the Trump administration. General Milley, Trump's Joint Chief of Staff's contact with his Chinese counterpart, assuring him of a warning of attack and organizing a mutiny in lieu of a nuclear war, actually gave China a window of opportunity if they had acted on it. Our national security was in extreme danger. General Mark Milley had shown his sycophantic toe-licking of the left and exposed just how political the career top brass of the military are expected to be as they ignore the U.S. Constitution.
And violent extremism remains a generational, trans-regional struggle requiring sustained political, fiscal, and military solutions. I am outraged by the senseless and brutal killing of George Floyd. What we are seeing is the long shadow of our original sin in Jamestown 401 years ago, liberated by the Civil War, but not equal in the eyes of the law until 100 years later in 1965. We are still struggling with racism, and we have much work to do.
And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white.
As many of you saw the result of the photograph of me at Lafayette Square last week, that sparked a national debate about the role of the military in civil society. I should not have been there. My presence in that moment and in that environment created a perception of the military involved in domestic politics.
China's not an enemy. China is a rising power.
The Chinese seem to feel, why build it if you can just steal it?
These are the faces of 5 Chinese government spies, indicted today by the Justice Department, accused of spying on American companies, costing them millions of dollars and causing thousands of Americans to lose their jobs.
Officer Badamaje Angwang, a member of that community affairs unit at the NYPD, is accused of spying for the Chinese government, of trying. The FBI says he worked alongside 2 officials at the Chinese consulate in New York. He's also accused of offering those Chinese officials access to senior NYPD personnel.
Investigators at the Lexington home of 60-year-old Dr. Charles Lieber today, moments after his arrest at his Harvard office.
The complaint alleges that Dr. Lieber signed a contract with the Chinese university in Wuhan and was paid up to $50,000 per month, plus up to $158,000 in living expenses.
The chair of Harvard's chemistry department, he also allegedly received more than $1.5 million to set up a research lab in China, all while working at Harvard and receiving multiple research grants from the U.S. Department of Defense and National Institutes of Health.
House Republicans requesting an FBI briefing on California Congressman Eric Swalwell's past ties to an alleged Chinese spy.
Eric Swalwell's collusion with a Chinese spy had already set the table for a compromised threat to national security.
Well, I don't have any concern about Mr. Swalwell.
And the generational family corruption of Nancy Pelosi's behind-the-scenes insurrection of the United States were basically ignored by the media and the government.
Pelosi saying, I spoke to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, to discuss available precautions for preventing an unstable president from initiating military hostilities or accessing the launch codes and ordering a nuclear strike. The situation of this unhinged president could not be more dangerous, and we must do everything that we can to protect the American people from his unbalanced assault on our country and our democracy.
Bob Woodward's book, filled with anonymous sources, will do nothing to imperil globalist tool Mark Milley, other than rub our faces in the overt coup infiltrating the powers of the executive office of the President of the United States and the will of the American people.
That Woodward book, Peril, is not about Milley. It's about Trump and his enablers. Specifically, confirming that Trump was as bad as reported and suspected.
The former president was fomenting an insurrection, and there was broad concern from a range of members of his national security team about his behavior and fitness for office.
Thank you, General Milley. Go.
I have great confidence in General Milley.
We have been occupied. The true insurrection has succeeded. John Bound reporting.